No, no. I guess that's good that she wants to be, you know.
Yeah, she wants.
Yeah. That's funny. Hey, that's great. Kids doing homework. That's do that as long as we can. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, we better get started here. It took me a minute to log into the computer. I think we are logged in and recording. Justice? I just called out. I just called out your name for no reason at all.
just record, please. I'm not working for the house. Please.
Do you watch my videos when you clean your house? Every day?
I don't know how important this place for me. I watch every.
Did you really? Well, I did hear Jared said he spent 10 hours on the project.
Yeah, I was. Well, and then my.
Jared spent about 10.
Just.
Oh, you had to go back and do it again. Did anybody spend more than 10 hours on the project? Mon Mobiso?
Oh.
Oh, more than 10? Okay, Jared, I think you hold the record. 10 hours.
They say you're supposed to be credit hours outside of right?
Good job. Good job. Let's see. You guys can't even see my screen here. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty. Okay, and we got some homework due today. Is that right? Okay, this homework today is going to seem really easy compared to the project. So, Jared, if you spend 10 hours in the homework, it's probably the wrong assignment. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance. I think we should, a couple parts in today's code, we'll be able to I'll just wink twice or something, and I'll be like, this is what is going to help you for the homework. And so we'll basically cover the homework in class. And if you still have questions at the end, let me know. It's pretty, what's the word? Raise your hand if you've already done the homework. Anybody already done it? Okay, quite a few, almost half done. Okay, great.
I don't know. I haven't done it.
Highlight the whole row. So you can highlight the whole row. The entire row, right? Even the blank cells. So there's, in fact, Eli, is Eli here? Eli's not here. He had a question about this morning. He was asking, hey, Victoria. No, you're good. Do you have to highlight the whole row? And the answer is yes. You have to highlight the entire row. So not just the rows in the table, right? What is it, 4 or 5 columns in the table? The entire row, which is actually easier. It's actually easier to do that. So, yeah, if you have some questions, maybe at the end of class, if we get through all the code, maybe we'll do some questions. I think most of our class is going to take the code. So I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes after class as well if you have any questions about that. Let's see, coming up for class next Monday, I'm going to be out of town, so I'm going to provide a video, and you're welcome to follow along the video next Monday. Yeah, the video is going to be 4 hours long. It's going to be in Spanish. No, wait. Spanish should be cool, actually. I would love to do it. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I served in Peru.
Okay.
So Spanish speaking. Lima East was my mission. So I served in Lima, in the jungles, and in the mountains. Mountains and jungles. It's really fun. It's good times. It's like a distant memory. What's that scripture in the Book of Mormon that says, life passed before us like a dream? Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like. That's what happens when you get old. You just start. You guys have seen what's that movie, Inside Out 2? When nostalgia starts to come out. Not now, nostalgia. Get back in the closet. You know how funny that is for me when I heard that? That is so me. I'm to that age now where it's like, do you remember when back in the day? Anyways, I don't know how I got on that topic, but it's great. I love it. It's good times. Today we're gonna do ranges and cells. Should be fun exercise. Wednesday we'll do making decisions in VBA. Again, Monday I won't be here for class. There's a video right here. So if you just click on the Monday's date, I'm gonna put a video right here. Also, I've also got a video ready for that week's homework assignment. And so I've pretty much walked through that homework for you, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Just that extra sound effect makes me feel better. Oh.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention here is the midterm. Should I wait till everybody's listening or should I just keep talking?
Just recording.
It's recording. They can always come back and look at it. In fact, I'll just speak softer so they can have their conversation and we can, no, I'm just kidding. There is a midterm in this class. Yeah, that's true. I'm going to try to get the midterm preparation guide to you by a week from tomorrow. And the midterm is, when's the midterm? It's a multiple choice test.
Goodness.
So there's going to be, right, no. Right, no. What was I going to say?
You're gonna go to
Is not in class. It's going to be outside class. I wanted to do the testing center.
No, I hate my job. No. I'd rather talk. I haven't been.
Proctor, do the test.
You're gonna make us go to the.
Yes, you're like proctor to.
I was here.
Alright.
Yeah, it's really bad. Please, just.
I like rub my eye.
I hate that.
Yeah, and laptops are annoying. And do you know over the midterms, the service is horrible, which gonna make like us break out, like, do you want this whole? And then everybody's gonna call you, text you like they're the same. And then it's gonna be over the weekend.
You guys are very persuasive.
You know, all the they're gonna bother them, they're gonna bother you, like,
You guys are pretty persuasive.
No, I just work there, I know how that feels.
No, I'm pretty sure we decided we were going to do this online. I'm pretty sure we talked about that. Didn't we talk about that the other class? You? Okay, great. Okay, great. With that, why don't we say an opening prayer and dive in? Who wants to say the prayer for us? Who needs some blessings? Some VBA blessings? Spencer says, please me. Thank you, Spencer.
Phone hadn't worked right before. Stated I was giving us it's new week. Yesterday was the Sabbath. Sorry. For that Son, Jesus Christ, the sacrifice. Believe on it. Have faith. It's all possible. Grateful for the school and for the chaplain's preparation. Environment that he fosters here for the Spirit to be here and help us to drop in the Spirit's life. Understand and know how to apply this material in our day-to-day lives or our professional lives. Father, we love you. Let's pray.
Amen. Thanks very much, Spencer. Okay, let's dive in. Let's go to ranges and cells for today. Chapter 5, working with ranges and cells. We're going to download this census file.
Are we live? Alright, we're live. Just to make sure.
Are we recording? The question is, can you hear me now? I think so. The audio's on. Should I test the speakers? Wait. Here. Wow, that was loud. That was loud. I think we're good. I think we're good.
You think we're good?
Okay, I'm gonna download the census file. Question.
Your audio's not best.
Oh, wait, what happened?
Wherever you shut down, you broke it.
Does that mean I have to test it one more time?
No.
It's working.
Is it working now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
No post.
Hello, hello.
There-
That's funny. Be recorded. Whatever. That was funny. That was pretty funny.
Oh, it's not.
Okay, I'm going to download the census file. I'm going to save it in my folder. And then I'm going to right click on the file, go to properties and unblock. There's my unblocked file right there. Okay. Let's see. This is the web version. Let me close this. Oh, I forgot to open it. I unblocked it, but I didn't open it. So here's my census file. Let's look at this file. Let's pretend just for a second. Let's assume that we're in like a technical interview. Somebody gives you this file at a technical interview and they say, thanks, Jaden. Good eye. Good eye. Way to be a team player, Jaden. Good job. If somebody says, what do you see about this file? This is the first time you've seen this data. You're in a technical interview and they say, what can you tell me about this data? What would you say? It needs some VBA. Well, here's one thought. Look at this first column here. This is almost like an index number, right? You don't really see any duplicates. It just goes up. In fact, it goes up almost by odd numbers, right? Every two. Okay, so that's one thing. This is probably some kind of index number or some kind of ID number for all the data. Anything else you can notice? If we go to another tab, we would see the data dictionary, short for data dictionary. And this is interesting. We start to see, if we look at this column, this is actually a list of headers. So if we have this age 130208, and if we come back to the data set, we're going to find this one of these columns right there, age 130208. So we can say that column represents the resident population under 5 years old in 2008, an estimate. And this is census data, right? So the data dictionary is providing us some information for these headers up here. Okay, so if this is census data, what do you think these rows are? Counties, how do you know? County names, beautiful. It turns out if you go to the county names sheet, we see a very similar index number here in this column. And all of a sudden we're saying, wait a minute, well, this is a list of counties, looks like by state. If I go down to the bottom, sure enough, Wyoming's the bottom. We've got almost 3,200 counties listed in the country is what this looks like. States and counties in states. Okay, great. So that means that every row here is probably a different county with census data going this direction. Okay, and we can figure out what those different data are by using this sheet right here. Civilian labor force, personal income, per capita income, a little bit different year data here. Retail trade, wholesale trade, manufacturing. How about that? So we have manufacturing data for each county in the country. We have land area, population per square mile. Okay, so we have a bunch of data here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to create a page, another website, another sheet here in this file where we can compare. It's really hard to compare different counties to different counties here. I mean, you could filter, you could, you could do a filtering the list. I'd like to just create a new sheet, and on this sheet, compare like 3 or 4 different counties. Okay, that's kind of where I want to go with this exercise. So I want to take this data and kind of automate a report so that every time the census prints out a new, a new report, a new year of data or a new quarter, we can run this macro and be able to create an easy way to compare across a few counties. So that's kind of where we're going to go. I'm going to create a new sheet. I'll rename this sheet. Let's rename it comparison. Comparison. And I'm going to move this sheet all the way over to the left. And this is where we'll do the comparison. In addition, let's take the data values, kind of this data dictionary, and I'm going to manually copy column B from data dictionary. I'm going to copy this entire row of information because it has the description of the data item here. It has the description, and I'm going to copy that into column A of my comparison. But I don't want to put it in row 1. It was already in row 3. So I'm just going to put it in row 3, if that makes sense. So we have here all of the census description of the data in the comparison tab in column A. And that's just copy and paste, right? I'm just copying and paste from the data dictionary column B to comparison column A. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to have different counties in like B, C, and D columns, right? So I can just compare across these 3 counties like that. That's where we're going to go. Let's create a, what do you call it? A data validation list. So when we're selecting our county, let's do a data validation list up here in A1 on our comparison sheet. Anybody remember how to do that?
Data validation.
That's it. Data on the data tab. There's a data validation option in the top. And there's a data validation window here. And instead of allowing any value here, I'm going to allow a list. So I'm going to change this from any value to a list. And I'm going to create the source. What should be my source here? Let's do county names. Yeah, let's pick a county name. And I'm going to go ahead and use column D here. I'm going to do all of column D. So D1, and then shift control down arrow takes me all the way down, and it selects all those counties. Okay. And that's going to create a data validation list in cell A1 on my comparison sheet. So if I type in Madison, we have a whole bunch of Madison counties, right? That's actually a lot. Madison, Idaho. We can select that. But these are all the counties. So we've created a data validation list that we can select our counties from. And once we select that, we're going to pull all of that county information into basically column B as we start this out. Okay, so now that we got our spreadsheet kind of set up here, let's go ahead and go to our developer tab, open up Visual Basic, and let's do some VBA. So there's no VBA yet. So I'll go ahead and click on Insert and insert a module. And that should create a module 1 here in our file. Okay, take 30 seconds. Tell your partner where you're at. Tell your neighbor. Neighbor, I'm already lost. Neighbor, help me out. Neighbor, what is going on? Neighbor, give me a break. Neighbor. Brandon, who's your neighbor? Brennan. Okay. Wait, don't you usually, isn't there somebody who usually sits right there? Oh, okay, great. That's right.
But at least you know it's good.
Okay, great. Maybe the three of you will be neighbors today. Can we do three neighbors? Okay, great. Branch, where's your neighbor? Spencer, you got two neighbors, buddy. Double duty. Okay, great. Let's create a sub. Sub get county data. Okay, we're going to write a sub today called get county data. And because we're working with multiple worksheets, I'm going to create a worksheet object for our comparison worksheet, right? I want to create an object for that worksheet specifically, just so there's no confusion about which worksheet we're looking at. So I'll do dim compare as worksheet. Compares. Oh, good question. Have I not mentioned that? Oh, sorry about that. Yes, let's mention that. Great question. Option explicit. This is a setting, and I'll show you where that setting is just a second. What this means is I have to formally declare all the variables that I'm going to use in my program. So this option explicit forces VBA to say, don't create any other variables than what I create. Does that make sense? So it's going to give me an error every time I try to use a variable that's not named, that I didn't create. And the reason why that's important is because sometimes if you forget to do this dim step up here, and I was just typing compare lower down in the code, it will create a variable without me having to define it. And that can be problematic. And so it's beneficial to have an option explicit here so that you just avoid funny business. And the funny business is VBA is trying to do what it thinks you want to do, right? It's trying to be helpful. In many cases, it's not as helpful. So option explicit, if you go to tools options up here, tools options, and you go to, let's see, I can't see. Is that the editor tab? That's the first tab that's selected. Yeah, on the editor tab, you guys might look like this, right? You have the auto syntax check checked and the require variable declaration unchecked. If you change these two, that's kind of my personal preference. So where it says require variable declaration, that's this option explicit. So if that's checked, every time you make a sub, every time you open a module, it's going to automatically include option explicit. Again, which means I have to declare my variables when I use them. I'm going to declare that. This one right here, the auto syntax check, I uncheck that. What that does is if it's checked, for example, I'll leave it checked for a second. I'll show you what I mean. If I write some code here, variable as, and this error message pops up, that's what that check means. And I don't like the error message. I love the red letters though. It tells me this is wrong. I haven't finished this line yet. So to get rid of that error message, I just uncheck that and it will still provide the red letters, but it won't force that error message to pop up. So that's what that option does. So again, tools, options, I uncheck the auto syntax and I check the require variable declaration. Yeah, good question, Hunter. Appreciate that. Then that just means that this option wasn't selected when you created that. You can type it in. And the next time you could create a module, it'll show up here, which is fine. Yeah. So I could remove this one and then I could add another module, insert module, and it would show up there. Okay, great. Great question. So we're at get county data and I'm going to create a worksheet object, a variable that's an object that's a worksheet, and I'll call it compare as worksheet. And then I'm going to set that compare to the worksheet that I want to work with, right? Set compare equal to this workbook dot worksheets compare. Let's see, what's the name of it? Comparison. Okay, so this word compare is now tied to the comparison sheets. And what we want to do then is what we're trying to do is I'm going to select a county from A1 and I want it to find that county on the data set and pull in all the information here. So one of the first things we have to do is we have to figure out how to find that county in the data set. And the good news is that there is a function called find. Isn't that nice? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit of a setup to help me use IntelliSense for this find function, right? In other words, what I'm really looking for is I'm going to say, go to the county sheet, find the county that I'm searching for and give me that number. Once I know what that number is, let's see, what is that number? Just so I know what it is. Madison, Idaho. Is it 2 spaces? There it is. Madison, Idaho's number is 16,065. Once it finds that number, then it's going to go to the data set and it's going to look down here for 16,065 and it's going to return all of this data here back into the comparison sheet. So we need to do a find, and in order to get the find, I'm going to set up another variable. Let's call it R as a range. And when I set that up as a range, I can use IntelliSense to help me with the find function. So there's r.find, and these are the inputs to that find function. So the first thing is find what? What am I gonna, we're gonna find A1. So I'm gonna point it to compare dot range A1 dot value. And that's my what? Where am I gonna look at it? There's a couple of things that I don't need here. I'll hit a comma. I don't need after. I don't need look in. What I need next is, let's see, where is it? Match case. 1, 2, 3 commas. Look at. That's what I need. So the commas, I'm basically moving down these options, right? What is A1 value? After that is after. I don't need that. Look in. I don't need that. But I do need look at. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the whole cell. That's what I'm searching for, right? I'm searching for whatever that value in range A1 is. I'm searching for that entire cell when I go search. Excel whole, that's right. That's a VBA word. That means VBA recognizes, okay, what you really want is you want that entire cell. So in other words, if Madison, Idaho is the county I'm looking for, it's not going to find just the Madisons, which there's lots of Madisons. It's looking for all of that, right? Madison, comma, ID. And that it's got to be a match for the entire cell. Okay, good. Now that I know what this find is, the only reason why I wrote this is so that I could create this find function. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this down here because I need to use that find function on the county sheet. So let's do this. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to say, let's create a county range. Actually, let's do this. What is the name of the county sheet? If I go up here to the Project Explorer, remember how there's 2 names here? There's the county names and the counties. Counties is actually the code name of that sheet. That's the name that's not going to change. If I come down here and change the county's name sheet, county names, the counties does not change. So I can still refer to the sheet as the code name counties, even though the tab has changed. So I'm going to come back over here. Let me correct my county names and refer to that sheet with the code name counties. So counties, and I'm going to search in counties in column 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the column I'm going to search in. So I'm going to paste this find in columns. Here's one way to refer to range and cells is columns. So counties is the sheet. I want to search in column 4, and I want to find this value in that column on that sheet. Does that make sense? So I'm again referring to the worksheet, referring to columns 4, the 4th column, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inside this column, find the value from range A1, which is from the compare sheet. So range A1 from the compare sheet, make sure the match is matching the entire cell. This is very similar to the find that you used in the homework, right? When we were looking for total revenue, operations, operating expenses, when we brought in that web query, this is kind of the same function of finding in the page. Okay, great. So now we've got the find, and this is going to return a value. And we want to set this value to our county number. So let's do this. Let's come back up here. We're going to create another variable. We'll call it county, and we'll say dim county as range. And once we have that created, we can come down here and say set county equal to counties.columns4.find compare range A1.value XL whole. How about that? Isn't that cool? That took us a couple steps to get there, right? It took us a couple. So what is that going to do? That's going to give us the county. We found the county. So that's the county on the county sheet. That's the county that's referring to. But we still need to get the number, right? So all we did is we found this county on the county name sheet. We still need to get the number. So what we can do is we need to do another variable. Let's do data row, dim data row as range. And we can say set data row equals to data dot. And data here is referring to the code name for the data sheet, right? So we're referring to the code name of the data sheet as data. If we go back to the data set, what we're looking for now is that data. What is that data? Hold on. I think I might have. Let me do one more step here. Is that what I want to do? Data? Oh, that's right. Let's just do this. Before we do that, let me comment this one out. Since we're at this step, set county equal to the county. Since we found that county row, let's do a stop and just make sure this runs before we get too crazy. So I'll come over here, I'll put a stop in, and I'll run it. And if I go back to my comparison, I've got Madison, Idaho in cell A1 on my comparison sheet. So when I search for Madison, Idaho, it should come back and tell us that it found the county we should be able to see a value in the county. So let's run this and let's figure it out. So I'll put my cursor inside the sub, I'll hit the play button. It's come to stop. So now again, we're in break mode, right? This yellow arrow says, okay, we haven't finished everything. All of these variables are in memory currently. So I can come up here to the immediate window and I can say question mark county, and it says Madison, Idaho. Okay, so that's where it sets the county. It's found the match and it's setting the county to Madison, Idaho. I could come here and I could say question mark county dot address, because county is a range, and it would tell me, yeah, the range of that, the address of that range is D596, right? That's over on the county's name, D596. That's the county that it found right there. I could do county dot value, and that gives us the actual value. I could also say county dot row, and that tells us what row it's on, 596. Okay, so now we're going to use this row to help us go to the right county, help us get the right county data from the data sheet. So we're going to use that row number. So let's do this. We set up this data row as a range. Now we'll come back to this line, set data row equals to data. So we have a data value. This is referring to the data sheet. And interestingly enough, another way to refer to a cell is like that. How about that? Hard bracket, A1, close bracket. Isn't that kind of weird? That's kind of weird. That's referring to cell A1 on the data sheet. What is the cell A1 on the data sheet? Let's see. That's this cell, ANSI. But what we're doing is we're looking for the row of the county, right? So we'll start with this data.A1.entire column, because we're going to look at that entire column. And we're going to do a find again. We're going to find the county, but we're going to offset 0 rows, -3 columns, the value of that. And let me talk about this. This is a big one too. So we know what the county is, right? We just set the county. The county is Madison, Idaho. If we go to the county names, here's the county name right there, Madison, Idaho. 1, 2, 3 columns over is the number. Okay, so we're looking for this number, which is going to be this value right here. We're offsetting 3 columns. What's the value of that number? We're finding that number inside of the entire column of the data sheet, A1. Does that make sense? So for example, let me see if I can make this even more clear. If I copy this up here to the immediate window and I say, what is the value of county dot offset 0, -3 dot value, that value is 16065, which is this number right here. We're just offsetting. We know this is the county. We're offsetting 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, and now we have that code. So we're searching for that code. We're finding that. We're saying, given this code, find it, search for it in the entire column of A1 on the data sheet. How about that? So it's going to come to the data sheet, look in this column, and it's going to find that number. And we want the entire row, dot entire row equals to the data row. That's the data row that we want, okay? So we're trying to figure out which row is that county on. So if I hit F8 or if I hit what's the one debug step into, if I click on step into up here, it will go to the next step at one at a time, right? So I can click on that, and now the data row has been set. So if I come up here, wait, what am I missing? Data row equals data A1 entire column dot find county offset value entire row. So it's going to select, oh, I probably didn't, here, let me restart it. Let me stop it and restart it. And then I'll put my stop down here. So if I run this again, I've set the county and I still haven't set the data. What's wrong with the data? A1 entire column dot find. County offset 0,3 Excel whole, that's got a value. 16065 entire. Well, let's check this. Data is my sheet. A1, because A1 is the entire. Oh, weird. Let's try this. For some reason, it's not picking up my data row. I thought that was because it didn't define it. Why is it not picking up my data row? Type mismatch. Oh, it's a range. Yeah, that's right. Entire row. All right, let me try this. Data dot A1 dot entire column dot address. AA. That's it. So if we want to refer to a range, the entire column, it would be AA entire row. Yeah, I think that's right. By the way, this entire row is going to be helpful for your homework today, right? What do you want it to do with the entire row? Highlight it. Yeah, do you know what the command is to highlight something? Yeah, interior color. Yeah, very good. If you don't know what it is, you can just do a macro, right? Maybe I'll take this chance to just kind of put in here what I'm talking about real quickly. So if I stop this for a second for the homework, purposes of the homework, if I wanted to come in here and record a macro that says, hey, record a macro, sure, macro 1. And if I just wanted to highlight the entire row, just one cell even, right? If I wanted to fill one cell, I would fill it like this. It doesn't matter the color. I would stop recording. I'd look at my macro, macro 2, and it's saying interior, right? So there's a dot interior and there's a dot color. And so what I would do, man, I'm probably doing this, I'm probably way too easy on this. I could write one line of code for this homework assignment. It would be, do I write the one line?
You should write.
I won't write the one line. There's going to be a certain thing that you say here first. What's the range that you want to use for your homework? Active cell. Very good. If you don't understand why, make sure you read your homework. Based on that active cell, dot what? If I just do this, interior dot color equals, what was this color? I'll just do this. Does that do the entire row? Just the cell. So how do we go from the active cell to the entire row? And here's the hint, right? Whatever this range is over here, you can add entire row to that, like dot entire row, and that will change what your range is here. Does that make sense? Garrett says yes. I think we're good. So instead of just the active cell, you would add one more option here for entire row. And once you have that, and if you change interior color for the entire row, you're golden. That's the one line. Sound good? Come back and watch a video if you want some more help on that. That's basically it. Isn't that terrible? All right, that's terrible. We're taking it out. Okay, but we're looking for the data row. So we have data row as range. We're setting that data row to data.a1 entire column dot find. So the entire column is referring to all of column A1, right? That's what we just set up here. Data A1 entire column dot address. Within that column, we're going to find this. And we're going to say that entire row, whatever row that's on. So if we go down to 16065, that's the Madison County number. That's in terms of this data, that is Madison County, Idaho's county ID 16065. We want that entire row, and that's going to be 596. So that's what we're trying to set the data equal to. Data row is where that data's at on the data sheet, the entire column, finding county dot offset 0, -3 dot value, comma, Excel whole dot entire row. Okay, now that we've found the row, the next thing we need to do is bring in the data. Bring in the county, state, name, and the data. So let's do this so that we can compare it. In our comparison sheet, let's have the state come into this cell. Let's see, do I want the state or do I want the county name? Let's bring in the county name and the state. So how do we do that? And then we'll bring in the data. So we'll do the county and the state and then the data underneath it, right? So we can compare, so we know which one it is. So if I come below here, let's write this. Let's do compare. We're going to take some data from another sheet and put it into the compare sheet. Compare.cells2. We've used cells before. Whenever there's two numbers inside the cells parentheses, the first one's always the row and the next one's always the column. If there's only one number inside the parentheses, it's actually referring to the number of the cells going from left to right, top to bottom. So in this case, compare.cells2 is another way of saying, I'll come up here, compare.cells2 dot address. It doesn't like that. I'm offended. It's another way of saying cell B1. It's like the second cell. Does that make sense? Here's cells 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Goes all the way over to the end. And what row is that? Active cell dot column. That's column 16,384. I just went all the way over to the farmost right column. And so if I were to do one more than that, 16,385, it would go all the way back to the next row first cell, right? So it's simply counting all of these cells left to right. So this cells 2 is basically B1. So in B1, I want the value to be, let's take from the county sheet, we're going to offset 3, 0, -3 dot range. And we want C1 is our range dot value. So let's look at this one. Oops, this is a dot, not a parentheses. Because we have the range here, and then we're offsetting that range. So what does county offset range C1 value mean? So county, what's county referring to? County is referring to this cell right here that we found before, which is on the county's name sheet, and it's this cell right there. We've been searching for Madison, Idaho. We found it. That's that cell is county right there. And we're saying offset 3 columns to the left range C1. Okay, now this is where it gets pretty interesting. This range C1 is going to be different than some of the other ranges we've seen so far, okay? This range right here is a method of the sheet. So the range method of a sheet is not the same as a range method down here, which is a range method of a range. Does that make sense? In other words, the parent of this range is a worksheet. The parent of this range down here is a range. Yeah, don't ask me why Microsoft did that. Don't ask me why. There's no good reason why there's not. The only reason I bring it up is because when you record code in VBA, it will give you this notation. It will use this notation, the range method underneath another range. Is that weird or what? This county is a range. This offset is a range of this county. This range C1 is talking about a range of this range. It's like a range within a range. It's a little bit like, what's that movie? Interstellar? No, what's the movie? People go into people's minds. Inception. Yes, this is very much like Inception. So the way this works, let me show you how the way this works. It's really kind of weird, actually. This range right here is referring to which cell? Well, we can come up and do this, right? County. Actually, it's not running right now. Let me run this so I can show you what this is. County is the range, right? What's the count? What's the address of the county? D596. So again, the county is on the county sheet, and it's referring to D596. This is that range. That cell is this range, right? That's the county. That's a range. You with me? County is the range. When we offset that by 3 columns to the left, we go 1, 2, 3. This is now the range of this range, right? So if I look up here, I do county dot offset 0, comma -3 dot address. That's going to give me an error because I spelled it wrong. Let me see if I can spell it correctly. A596. So all we did, we just went over 3 columns, right? We're still at one cell. This is one single range, right? Now what happens is if we're doing a range method of a range object, it gets weird. I apologize. I apologize in advance for this. What's going to happen is it's like everything else above this cell doesn't exist, right? It's saying this cell right here becomes A1. Is that weird or what? This cell right here, but it's A596, Brother Chapman. What are you talking about? When we use the range of another range, right? The range method here of this range, it's as if this range right here is A1. So let's get weirder. We know that this one is A596. If we say county.offset 0, -3 dot range A1 dot address, what's that going to produce? That's going to produce A596, the same individual range. Does that make sense? It's saying, okay, if you're going to use range as a method of another range object, that cell becomes A1. So for example, if I were to do A2, what would the address be then? A597. It just went down. As if this was range A1, it went to A2, right? So this range is a method of this particular cell. That becomes A1. All of a sudden you're saying, okay, whatever this is, that's like A1, and now we can offset that Offset does the same thing. I don't know why Microsoft did this, but they did. So this range A2 is as if this is A1. Let's do A3. What happens to A3? If I were to do A3 here, again, this range is a method of another range, not of the worksheet, right? This is going to give us a different address here. This is going to be A598. So it's as if this is cell A1, and now we've gone A2, A3. We've gone right down here, A1, A2, A3. And that's all that is. So that's A3. When we're actually looking for C1, so if I do C1, what does that say? That's going C596. That's going A, B, C 596. That's going to give us the state. Okay. So this part again is saying from this cell, where is range C1 if this cell were range A1? And it turns out it's going to be the state, C596. Whoo! Wow. Wow. How about that? That's crazy, isn't it? That's a little bit crazy. So what we're saying here then, going back to the code, is we're saying we want this state, because this is referring to that state value, right? Idaho, ID, put the state back into the compare sheet in the second cell. So we want Idaho to go right there in that cell. And then right below it, we'll put the county name. Okay. Let me do one more code here and then for the county name. And we'll do it very similarly. We'll say, hey, let's do compare dot. In fact, this time we'll do columns because referring to the second column dot cells 2 here. If we refer to the second column on the compare sheet, that's going to be this column, but the second cell in the column is going to be B2. So that's another way to refer to that cell. Compare dot columns 2, the whole column, second column, and the second cell in that column is going to do B2. We want to do the value of that is equal to county entire row dot cells 2 dot value. What's that? So county, what's our county? County is our range of that name. Madison ID is our county range. What's the entire row? That's going to be this entire row. And it's saying, give me the second cell of that entire row, which is the county name itself without the state, Madison. Take that value and put it into your compare sheet. And that's exactly what that's going to do. Okay, so let's pause there for a second. And I'll do a stop down here. Oh, I've already got one. And I'll run this again. And I'll clear out my comparison. So I'll take out the Idaho. I'll take out B212. I'll stop this. I'll run it again. And based on the fact that I have Madison, Idaho chosen in A1, I have Idaho and Madison, B1, B2. And that's what we've done at this point. Okay, check with your neighbor. Neighbor, where are you at?
Saying that this isn't defined for some reason, like if I run it.
Oh, yeah, I think it's capital C.
Well, I tried that. It still didn't.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's because I didn't get it.
Variable not defined. Counties.
Like, it's the counties.
And county set county equal to counties dot columns. Variable not defined. It thinks it's a variable, not a sheet. Oh, I think it's because your code is in a different file.
Oh, maybe.
Because you're looking at this row column file and it says, I can't find that sheet. So it thinks it's a variable, but it's a different file. Yeah. How's it going? Subscript out of range. Oh, fun. What's the, yeah. Set comparing this word sheets comparison. What's the name of? Oh, I think you spelled comparison with 2 S's. So it's like, I can't find that.
Oh, so yeah, King's been on the sheet
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So the name of sheet's got to equal the same name
So
as
then
that.
if I fix it,
Right.
fix
And then
it
hit
there.
play. There you go. You got it. So now you got your Madison. Do you have your Idaho above that in the B1? Yeah, you do. You got it there. Good job.
I don't have the ID. I have the Madison.
Okay. Compare dot cells two dot value equals county offset. Oh, that should be a -3,
On -3. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because if we go to your county's sheet, go to your county name sheet, the county is over here in column
Yeah.
D. So you want to go 1, 2, 3 to the left.
Mhm.
So that's going to be a -3 that
Okay.
way. Positive would go that way. So it went over here to this,
Yeah.
but you go negative. Try that, see if it works. What do you say? What do you say?
So assuming that this row is wrong, not sure why.
What's the error message it said? Object variable with block variable not set. Set data row. So you have data row up here as a range, right? Did you run this with that in there?
So I did like stop right here, I think. Or where was the original stop?
Sure. Yeah, I moved it all around. Yeah.
Put it right there, yeah.
Why don't you do stop and run it again? So click on the stop sign
Mm-hmm.
and run it again. Okay, run it one more time. Oh, set data row is equal to data dot A1 dot entire column dot find county, which is right there. Mouse over county. Oh, it's county. It's not set. Why is county not set? County is equal to counties dot columns for dot find compare range A1. What's in your range A1 on the compare sheet? Oh, yeah. So it's trying to find that county. It says it's not in there. So I would, once you insert 2 rows, put everything down 2 rows, yeah. And then for that first A1 cell, do data and do data validation. Yeah. And then change the list. Source that with your county names here and select that whole column D. Beautiful. No, yeah, it included. It's great. Click OK. And now click down on that and see if you can, or search for Madison, type it in. That's probably the fastest way. And then just do Madison, Idaho. Just, I mean, if you want to follow along. Now it's going to look for that county. So go back to the code and stop it and run it again. Yeah, you can take that. I think it's completely stop it. So click on stop up here, replay, and there you go. Yeah. So now if you go back to compare sheet, you should have the Idaho and the Madison right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. Hey, ¿cómo lo hizo?
I don't know.
Set county, counties, form, call, prepare. Excel whole set data, row, entire column. Okay. Let's see. There's something wrong with the syntax though. Is that right? Set counties and counties. Scroll up a little bit. Counties, maybe a capital C. Dot columns for. Dot find compare. Not range anyone. You have the same problem?
No, he's good.
Oh.
Mine was doing that same thing for a while, but I don't know. Because it said maybe I should space the equal sign. Just an equal sign.
It's not recognizing counties as a sheet.
Wait, hang on, are you doing this sub in?
Oh, good question. Good question. That's a very good question. Where's your sub at? Scroll down. Yeah.
Scroll down, are you in the module? Yeah.
Okay, you're in the module. You're in the right module. Sub get count data. Set county equal to counties dot columns.
Mine gets there.
Yeah, I would expect that columns would be capital C automatically because it should show up. And you got columns 4 too, right? Find, compare, Excel whole. Is that an L after the X?
And L. Oh, that's why I asked if it was XL, because there's the bracket.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, it's an L. That should work. Okay, great. Here we go. You guys good? Sweet. Good work. Okay, so now we're going to copy the entire. We have the county and we have the state. The next step is to copy all of this data right in here. So how do we copy the whole data? Actually, it's pretty nice. It's pretty easy at this point. We're going to say data row.copy. How about that? What's our data row? Our data row is the entire row in the data sheet with that county data. So we're looking at this row right there. It's going to copy that entire row with just one command because we know what the data row is now. And then how do we put this data into the sheet? We're going to transpose it. Yeah, that's right. Let's do another macro. Let's record that. What does a transpose look like in a VBA? Let's see. I gotta break my code so I can record a macro first, right? If I'm in break mode, it won't let me record a macro. So I have to get out of my break mode by clicking on the reset button at the top. Come over here to what am I gonna do? Data set, and let's record a macro. I'll go ahead and copy. So for the macro, I'll copy this row, which is the Madison row. I mean, you could copy any row, frankly. And then I'll paste it, but I'm going to transpose it. And I want to record what is the VBA when I transpose it and paste it. So here it is. I'll record the macro. Any row's fine at this point. I just want to know what that code is to transpose it. Click on create macro. I'm going to copy this entire row, copy. I'll come to comparison and what is it? Paste special. And there's a transpose option right there. So paste special transpose, and that should, yeah, so it's pasted in all that data vertically instead of horizontally. That's what the transpose does. So I'll stop my recording and look at the macro on this. So module 2. And this is it right here. Selection dot paste special. Oh, and there it is. Transpose equals true. So what I can do is I can actually take all of this out, all this other stuff I actually don't need. And I can say selection dot paste special transpose equals true. And I can just copy that. I'm going to copy that code back into this module here where I'm writing it. But instead of selection, I need to tell it where, bless you, where to paste it to. That's what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to say paste this, but I want you to paste it where? I want you to paste it right in this cell right there. And I want you to transpose it when you paste it. That's what I'm going to tell. So instead of selection, I'm going to take this out, and this is going to be on the compare sheet. Let's go ahead and do the second column, and let's do the third cell in that column. Paste special transpose is true. Notice, by the way, this semicolon and equal sign, this is an argument of the paste special method, if that makes sense. So, wait, no, you're right, it's a colon. Yeah. Thank you. Colon equals, good catch. Colon equals is referring to an argument. It's something within the paste special method. So the paste special is the method, and there's different options in the paste special method. One of those options is transpose, and we're going to set that to true. Again, this is an object. This is object-based programming, loosely. Here's our object, a specific cell. The method of that cell is paste special, and this is an argument of that method. Okay, so at this point, we should be able to, paste it all in. Should we try it? I'm going to go here and I'm going to delete everything in my column B just to clear it all out. And I'm going to go ahead and save my document, save my file before I run this. Why? Just because it's a good practice to save it, right? I'll come up here and click on save. And now I'm going to run this thing. So I'll click inside here. Let me clean up my code a little bit, and then I'll run it. And let's see what happens. I'm in break mode, and there it is. Idaho, Madison, and it's copied and pasted all that information into column B. Beautiful. Beautiful. Did you know the resident population, what is this? Under 18 years. It's 11,048 in Madison County in 2008.
This might be a late question. So when did the data validation?
Yeah.
Did you do it like a search bar, like type in Madison and came up with all the options?
That's right. So if you do it correctly, you should be able to type in Madison and it starts to filter based on what you type.
Yeah, mine did not do that.
Okay. But you have the drop down here?
I have the drop down, yeah, but it doesn't bring them up with the it doesn't bring up with the rest of the selections.
Oh, it doesn't actually it doesn't start filtering when you start typing? Oh, interesting. I wonder if there's a setting somewhere in Excel. Changes that.
Had these been all out of order, how would you like that to make the code more complicated?
No, great question. That's a great question. I think the code would still work even if it was out of order, right? Is that true? No, because the data row would be different, wouldn't it?
Well, because
But if you're searching for it, it should find it.
it's like, doesn't not make sense.
Well, the
like, you
page-
Search it in Excel.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not talking about the counties. You're talking about this data set. Let's see. How would that work? Yeah, I don't know, because here's the columns and then here's all the data this way.
Had it not been organized that way, or had these not be questions for like, say, resident total population, that picking spot. Or would you data search, but this only works because it's in order already.
That's true. These columns are in the same order as this data dictionary.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. Very true. Yeah, we would want to check that. We didn't even, I knew it was, so it didn't even occur to me, but yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. Is this sorted? No, it's not even sorted. It's like group sorted too. So it's kind of a weird sort, right? It's not sorted by the title of the data item here. But that may be one of the easiest ways to do it if you had to resort it. Yeah, good question. Okay, couple more things. How much time do we have left? What? I feel like we just started like 10 minutes ago.
What? No.
Why does this class always go by so fast?
It's go so slow. We're getting
Because they didn't have any.
so fast.
Here's what I want to do. I want to, we're almost there. A couple more things. I want to insert a new column. So when I start to select columns here or counties, I want to select a county and I want to insert the new county here and kind of push out all these other counties. Does that make sense? So I can see multiple counties at once. Because right now, if I select a new county and then run the new code, if I run the code again, it's just going to put it over the one that I just have, right? So now what I want to do is I want to insert a way so that I can see these multiple county comparisons, right? So let's see what that looks like. Let me go ahead and put my Madison back in just because I can, right? Stop it. I'll play it. There's my Madison. So we have Madison County here. It turns out this is a pretty quick thing we can change. If I come back up here to the top And before I run any of this code, after I've set my variables up here, I can come here and say, compare, that's the sheet, columns 2, that's the second column of the sheet, insert. And that's going to insert another column. Now, if I do that the first time that I run this and nothing's there, that's fine because we're not pushing anything out. They're not going to see anything. It's going to look like it's the first time we run it. If we run this again, you should have a second column of data. Okay, so I'll run this the first time because I just deleted it. And there's Madison. Okay, but wait a minute. What just happened here? Why did my column get big? Very good. By default, it copies the format of the column to the left. So the formatting, including the size of the column, B is now matched the column's width of A. But if I do this again, and I can just reduce this right here, and we'll just reduce that in a minute and change that in the code in just a second. If I run this a second time, then it should have inserted another column and put another county. And I didn't change my county, so let's change my county. Let's do, anybody here from Gooding, Idaho?
Yeah, like so many people.
Which county is Boise?
Ada.
Ada. Let's put in some Ada. Ada County, Idaho. Let me go and just take this extra one out. And then I run this one again, and it should input. There's my Ada County right there. So I have Ada and Madison. And I can run this as many times as I want, and it will keep adding new columns. But how do we fix this? Is it possible to fix our column adjustment here? That seems,
If you're asking
there
me,
is a way to do it. How about if we do that at the very end? So now we come down here to the bottom. Let's say compare dot columns 2, because we're referring to the second column, dot auto fit. Now, if I drag that up and I run this again, what happens to my column 2? It's going to auto fit the size for everything in column 2. Oh, because we could do this faster in the code.
I don't know, just click like whatever.
You don't have to do this part, Victoria. You could just do it manually. It's fine. It's okay.
But it turns your head on to drop down.
Yes, it does. Very cool. Why does it do that? Yeah, because when we insert that new column, it's gonna copy the formatting of that new column, which data validation is copied over. It's got the right count, it's got the right state, but there is this. Okay, do you want to, here, I'll just show you. How much time do we have? I'll just show you what that is. Ready? There's a way to turn that off. If you did the code and like deleted a data validation cell, this is what it would say. I'm just kind of skipping forward a little bit. You can say validation.delete, and it will take out the validation for that cell. Does that make sense? So we've inserted the column up above. We've done all this code here. We've pasted the data, transposed it. We've auto-fit the second column, and now we can come to that second cell, which is the one we just added, right? That's going to be B1, and we can delete the validation from that cell. Is that going to delete our data? Let's try it. I'll take these out. I've got Ada County selected. I'll stop this. In fact, let me just comment this out so I don't have to keep unstopping it. I ran it once. There's my Ada, and that is no longer a validation cell, but the Idaho is still there. So we've shrunk the cell. We've removed the validation. You guys are set, right? You guys are set.
Can you do this again? What-
Oh, just now, I typed in this line right here, compare.cells2.validation.delete. And so that's going to delete just the validation for the second cell. What's the second cell? The second cell of the entire sheet is this one right there. Cells 2. Here's the first cell in the sheet. Here's the second cell in the sheet. And so this one no longer has that validation list.
So it's just Idaho.
Just Idaho.
So we can't.
That's right. That's right. Okay, take 30 seconds. Neighbor, this is where I'm at.
Oh, and it's good. Yeah. You know what I'm impressed with? That I still understand what it's going on. Like that's kind of like crazy.
That is crazy. Good for you. That's really cool. Okay, last thing, and then I'll let you guys go. What if I want to clear this out? I can write another sub to start from scratch, right? I don't have to manually delete everything. Let's do a sub called clear data. And this one's actually pretty easy. Active sheet. We'll just assume that it's on the compare sheet. In fact, we could be specific about that, can't we? Let's do compare dot used range. And that's a really oh, we can't. Can we use compare here, by the way? We haven't set it up. That's right. I was thinking we were in the same. We can't use compare because we're in a different sub. So we'll just use active sheet. You could do compare if you did this up here, right? If we just set this just like we did here, and that's fine, that would work. I'll just use active sheet. There's a method called used range. And what that refers to is any cell that's used on the sheet, right? It'll create this range around all the cells that have data in them. That's called a used range, and it will select that entire range. That's the used range, but I want to offset one column because I don't want to clear this column A. I want to keep this column. I want to clear everything else, so I'm going to offset 0 rows, 1 column, dot clear. And if I run this, it's going to get rid of any county data that I have over here, B, C, D, E. If I run this, I've run it, I come back and B is clear. That allows me to come back up here and type in another. Oh, there's one more thing. Can I show you guys one more thing? Just one more thing, I promise. Just one more thing. This one's cool. You guys are gonna like this one for sure. What if I just want to run this code after I select from this cell, right? In other words, when I click on Jefferson, Idaho, I want it to run the code automatically. That's what I want to show you right now. Can we do it? This is what you've been waiting for the whole class.
Why did we?
You guys have been waiting for this the whole class. Oh, this is going to be great. You guys are going to love this. Let's see. Yeah, we could do a button. Yep, button's easy. We can do that for sure. Button's a piece of cake. Let me see if I can find my. If we go to, where'd it go? You know what? Give me a second. Let me see if I can explore this. If we go to the counties sheet, now notice all the code we've done so far is in this modules. We haven't done any code in the sheets objects at all, right? If we go to the counties sheet itself, double click on the counties sheet. No, sorry, the comparison one. Sorry. Go to the comparison sheet. There's no code here. What happened to our code? Well, the code's still there. It's in module 1. Click on comparison sheet. Drop down here to the worksheet. See this guy? Inside of this worksheet option, here's the first drop down, worksheet option. We can come over here and we can say change. What this is this is an event. When this event happens, we want to run code. Okay, so I can get rid of this selection change. We don't need that. We just want to focus on this sub. Here's the sub name like we've done before. Here's the name of the sub, worksheet change. And it wants some input. Okay, it wants some input and it will run this code. Here's the input that we need to put in here. If target, what's target? Target is a range. That's it's a variable name that we set up here. Target is a range. If the target.address is equal to, I'm going to do quotes, $A, $1, end quote. Then do something. Have we talked about, I don't think we've done a lot of if statements yet. I think that's coming up. This is an if statement. If the target address is A1, then get county data. How about that? Isn't that cool? You're going to call that sub from this event. Again, so what I did is I clicked on comparison sheet and I clicked on this drop down, went to the worksheet drop down, then clicked on change. There's a whole bunch of events here. We'll talk about some of these later on. Clicked on the change event. It's saying any change in this worksheet, it's going to run whatever code's in here. But I'm saying if I only want to run it if I change cell A1. So now I can come back to this cell A1. I can click on Jefferson County and it's going to give me an error. This one right here. Oh, thank you. That should be county. I missed my Y. Yeah, good catch. So now it'll work. Okay, so if I come over here, we'll try this again. If I click on Custer County, boom, there's Custer. Look at that. If I click on Cassia County, boom, there's Cassia County. If I click on, where's Clearwater? Madison County, boom, look at that. Madison, Cassia, Custer. Are you guys seeing this? Oh. Where's Twin Falls? Look at that. I got Twin Falls. Okay, so here's that code. This is the worksheet drop down over here. Again, this is on the comparison sheet object, right? Sheet 1 comparison. That's where this code is at. Worksheet on the first drop down, change on the second drop down, and this is my code. And it's saying, okay, every time something changes on the worksheet, run this code, but it's only going to run this if the target address is A1. If that's true, then run the count, get county data. Good question. I don't think clearing it, I'd have to delete it, right? If I delete it, what happens? A blank column. It says, I couldn't find that county, but it inserts the column and it's all blank. Yeah, how about that? Very cool. Good work. Okay, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Class dismissed. Thanks so much. I'll post the video and this file if you want this file. If you have any questions on the homework for today, come on up. Let's do it real fast. Thank you. Thank you.